16 races were complete when NASCAR left Daytona Beach after the Firecracker 400. It marked a halfway point for the season and a turning point for the sport. Richard Petty would never win again. Since 1960, the King had won 21% of all his starts. Everything in NASCAR could be considered before and after Richard Petty's last win. It was a new era.
The winning spirit
of 76.
Charlotte means stock car racing, fast and furious.
Most guys spend Sunday taking it easy. Not me.
More illegal parts were the topic when the Cup Series returned to Nashville. Inspectors discovered a special rear-end gear used by some teams. It delivered more power exiting corners on the short tracks, but was very fragile. Bobby Allison's crew chief Gary Nelson admitted they used the part at Bristol in April when he lapped the field, but it broke with 50 laps to go. It broke again at North Wilkesboro a week later, and the team gave up on it, but others apparently still had it. It was also said that NASCAR officials found an illegal 24-gallon gas tank in one of the cars, 2 gallons bigger than legal, but declined to publicly say whose car had it. After losing the win in May in the final 10 laps, Jeff Bodine led 327 laps and held off Darrell Waltrip by a car length to take the victory. Neil Bonnet qualified second for the Light Cola 500 at Pocono, but in Saturday's practice he hit a small deer on the track exiting turn 2. The impact broke the nose and the radiator on his car. Bonnet, an avid hunter, joked, "I've gotten a lot of deer in my life, but this is the first one I've taken with a Chevrolet."
The field 3 abreast as they enter turn number 1. From the second row, Harry Gant has taken the lead, but Bill Elliott is battling alongside as they go through turn number 1.
He's had a crash. It would appear to be Allison.
Allison into the wall and another car spinning right behind him. Bobby had heavy contact with the wall. Here's how it happened. Bobby Allison out of turn number 2. The car slides toward the outside and hits the wall hard. Harry Gant is leading away. Right behind him is Cale Yarborough, and right behind Yarborough is Ron Bouchard. They accelerate going down the straightaway. Yarborough moves to the inside of Harry Gant. There is some great racing going on out on the track. Yarborough and Gant side by side now at the end of the straightaway, braking hard, going downhill into turn 1. Yarborough grabs back the lead. Now Gant in the inside in turn number 2 looks to take over the lead again. Side by side into the turn, Gant with a half car length advantage as they go inside to turn 2.
Boy, can you imagine? And there goes Cale Yarborough back to the inside of Harry. We've had 3 or 4 lead changes on this lap alone. There are only 3 turns on the racetrack. All those guys right in a row, and now here comes Bouchard.
Bouchard, flexing the muscle, goes inside and takes the lead. These guys are having a delightful time on this Sunday afternoon. Yarborough now moving to the inside of Ron Bouchard once again. Harry Gant moves to the inside and passes Cale Yarborough, so Gant is in the lead. Look at this. Yes, that is a Grand National stock car. It isn't a modified. But Bobby Allison, after crashing on the 32nd lap, returns to competition on lap number 91. A tough break for Harry Gant. He is back at speed on the racetrack, but he had to come in for a stop-and-go penalty just 1 lap ago.
Well, it's very specific in the rule book. You cannot drive over him, Jack, and watch the right rear tires, Harry Gant, bounce up in the air as he pulls away
to get involved in a
crash in turn number 3. Somebody is up against the wall in turn number 3. It's Greg Sachs.
Now, here are the leaders coming in. Let's watch the situation. Remember last time, Gant had the better stop and was able to get, and he hits one of his pit crew members, knocks him down, and also knocks the tires from his hands.
Jeffrey Ellis. Jeffrey, you got hit.
Yeah, everything's fine just as long as he wins the race now. That's the main thing.
Look at Bill Elliott to the inside as the crowd screams. Now Elliott in the middle of Harry Gant on the inside and Cale Yarborough outside. What a duel.
Who's going to make it?
Who's going to make it into the first turn? It's going to be Harry Gant, it looks like. Yes, Gant takes the lead.
From third to first.
It's still Harry Gant showing the way.
Yarborough moves in a little bit. The deficit goes down to 2 car lengths, about 3 car lengths. Gant gets a good bite down on the bottom of turn number 3. I think it's going to be Gant.
They come out of turn number 3. The crowd rises to its feet. They cheer for the winner of the Light Cola 500, Harry Gant. And Cale Yarborough finishes second by about a half a car length over Bill Elliott. And that is our 11th different winner on the Grand National Circuit for 1984, Harry Gant.
Bobby Allison continued his accusations of cheating at Talladega. NASCAR forced the cars of Allison and Richard Petty to make changes to the body before qualifying. Meanwhile, Cale Yarborough's team passed inspection on the first try. Yarborough then won the pole at 202 miles per hour, to which Allison replied, quote, "Cale runs a limited schedule, and NASCAR kind of lets them do what they want to do, so they ought to run pretty good." And since NASCAR's inspection process was done in a closed room, he believed inspectors didn't look too closely at Yarborough's car, saying, quote, "If the templates had been right out here for everybody to see, the qualifying might have shaken down a little differently, but they wouldn't even let me in there." Yarborough responded by saying, quote, "After hearing Bobby run his mouth as much as he has lately, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm not trying to start a feud with him, but I am tired of him talking about me. What he needs to do is go home and do his homework and quit running his mouth." Following the thrilling race in May, the July Talladega 500 was even closer and was called by some as one of the greatest races ever in the history of auto racing.
Back straightaway, first time. There's that number 3. That is Earnhardt, last year's winner, trying to be the first man to win 2 in a row. And Tommy Ellis moving up in there. Back straightaway. Here comes Cale. He goes after the number 3 car of Earnhardt, the yellow and blue car.
Now here's Buddy Baker going for the lead. He's the Charger. Puts his board right out front around Dale Earnhardt.
Allison back on the inside, number 22, right back in there, thrusting that car by 3 machines as they come out of turn number 2. Bobby Allison knocks on the door another time.
And the fans here are just loving it because Bobby Allison and Neil Bonnett, the 2 cars that's side by side with Neil Bonnett, are only 50 miles from here, Hueytown, Alabama, and they got a lot of fans here today, kid.
Alabama gang going for it, and here comes Elliott mixing it up now. He's right up there, inches away from Bobby Allison's car at over 195 miles an hour as they just sashay a little off turn number 4. Look at Yarborough just explode out from behind, drops to the bottom of the track, and in the tri-oval, it is Cale Yarborough, who has never won this race. And down to the inside, look at Earnhardt struggling to go back by Cale Yarborough, and it will be Earnhardt in the first place in turn 3.
Here you go.
Here's Elliott going for the lead another time, and Marcus relegated to second position.
Neil Bonnett on the inside. Big push by Buddy Baker, but now Baker decides, well, maybe I ought to move up here behind Bill Elliott. He seems to be the strongest at this point and get some help from his Ford buddy.
Elliott was the 10th different leader in the event.
Well, then he says, we'll just make it 3 deep going into turn. Bonnett and
it's Baker. Look at Baker come through, and Bouchard. Hello, here he comes again. Dale Earnhardt trying to be the first man in history. Ooh, just slides in there. And look at Bouchard have to work number 47 as he almost overrode car number 3, taking that spot.
I tell you what, that 3 car, Dale Earnhardt, is extremely strong today.
O'Dine running first. Cale Yarborough back for the lead on the inside, the number 28 car, pulling alongside, and they go wheel to wheel for turn number 3 and go up on the side of the barrel. Oh, car trouble.
Here, got it.
Spinning, crashing. That is the Trevor Boyce car. In big trouble out of turn number 4.
He's moving around. He just cut the switches off. He's coming out of the car after taking a ride like that, getting out that quickly. Another indication of how well these automobiles are put together, because that was not an easy ride. Okay, he gets hooked. It looks like that's Tommy Ellis' car right behind him, and they just touch enough, and it shoots his car down to the inside. The air gets underneath the car, flips it over backwards. It hits hard on the top, scoots up the end of pit road there on the top. It hits the grass area, flips back over, all the way over and back on the wheels and up on the side, and lands back on the wheels once again like a big bucking horse.
Buddy Baker is going back in front. Cale Yarborough trying to pull beneath, trying the bottom of the racetrack. Terry Labonte, number 44, the Billy Hagan car. Crew Chief Dale Inman goes into second place. The Waddell Wilson car. The Harry Ranier machine of Cale Yarborough lying fourth. And sandwiching himself in there so neatly is Labonte. Now here he comes, driving to the inside. And Earnhardt comes with him.
Buddy Baker's spot, third spot. I think anybody would take that spot or Dale Earnhardt's. But any other spot than that, I don't think they're where they want to be. Do you, Dan?
Other than maybe Labonte, because he's got to know that Baker is going to make a move on Earnhardt, which might slow both of them down a little bit. So the front position might not be a bad position to be in. Other than those positions, I don't know.
1 lap to go. As this tremendous group of cars thunders into turn number 1. Terry Labonte in front. Earnhardt is there in second. Then in third, it's Buddy Baker on the outside. Bobby Allison is in fourth. Harry Gant is on the inside in fifth. At 200 miles an hour, all of these cars contesting for the lead. Earnhardt closes ground. He's going to try the high side. Earnhardt going to turn 3 at 200 miles an hour. Winds it up, fires it in there. And it's Earnhardt going in front. Baker to second. Labonte back to third. It is still Allison in fourth. And now on the inside, Terry Labonte begins to move. Labonte back to second as they switch positions and shuffle down out of the turn as they come out of the tri-oval, headed for the line. The question will be who will be second. The checkered flag belongs today to the Richard Childress crew. Dale Earnhardt has done it again. The first man to ever win it 2 years in a row. So that's the story of the 1984 Talladega 500. This man, Dale Earnhardt, is successful.
Earnhardt's win extended his point lead to 70 points over Labonte and 84 over Elliott. After Talladega, the Cup Series had a week off, and Tim Richmond spent it by flying over to Germany to watch F1's German Grand Prix. Over the summer of 1984, it was widely rumored that Richmond was considering a switch to Formula One in '85. The lone win at North Wilkesboro highlighted a rough year for Richmond, the Blue Max Racing team. In January, crew chief Tim Brewer was indicted and later pled guilty to 4 felony charges of receiving stolen property, 4 lawnmowers worth over $6,000. After paying restitution, Brewer's jail sentence was suspended, and NASCAR gave him a 1-month suspension in May. Richmond was openly unhappy with the performance of the team and looked to do something radical. He later recalled the F1 offer as, quote, "It was something that started after a Formula One team called me. I didn't call anyone. I wouldn't mind someday when I retire, history books saying I drove a Formula One car and did it well." Ultimately, he would stay with Blue Max Racing, but Brewer would become Neil Bonnet's crew chief in 1985. In the conclusion of the IROC series, Neil Bonnet beat Cale Yarborough to win the final race, but it was Yarborough who won the championship.
Bill Elliott leads them down toward the green flag. Harold Kinder waves the green, and we are underway.
There you see that battle for, about 5th through 12th. There's a lot of this 2, 3, 4, and even sometimes 5 abreast racing here at the Michigan International Speedway, and this is just typical of what you'd expect.
Darrell Waltrip moves to the inside of Bill Elliott and passes. We have now had 2 leaders in this race. Darrell Waltrip takes the lead on lap number 17. And here is the leader, Terry Labonte, as he has gotten in and out of the pits faster than anybody else and is on the lead with Darrell Waltrip running in second spot. Terry Labonte is slowing and stopping in his pits. It's a 17.3 second pit stop, and Terry Labonte is also slow getting out of the pits, but he finally finds the fire and moves back out. The battle at Michigan International Speedway is among 3 cars: Terry Labonte, Darrell Waltrip, and Bill Elliott, and there they are crossing the start-finish line, completing 170 laps, only 30 to go. We still have not had a caution flag all afternoon.
Labonte and Waltrip can hold back, and Labonte way up high, and Waltrip gets underneath. Terry Labonte much higher than I'm sure he wanted to be. Bob, Bill Elliott has accomplished part of his task. He does have the lead, but he cannot shake Waltrip and Labonte. Elliott may be slowing.
Yes, he is. Here is Bill Elliott making the stop 7 laps from the finish, leading a tough break, but those mileage problems have reared their ugly head again for Bill Elliott. So now we concentrate on who's going to win, Darrell Waltrip or Terry Labonte. 2 more laps to go, and now Labonte begins to show some muscle on the inside as they move into the backstretch. Labonte, however, unable to grab the lead away from Darrell Waltrip at this point. Harold Kinder waves the white flag. We have a car smoking very badly in turn number 1. You can see the smoke there. That is Jody Ridley. He's already been given the black flag. Darrell Waltrip leads Terry Labonte off of turn number 4. The smoke from Jody Ridley's car.
Labonte in trouble almost.
He's sliding to the inside, but manages to regain control, and Darrell Waltrip wins the race. Labonte second, almost lost it there in turn 4, but managed to hang on.
Michigan highlighted an evolution in stock car engineering. Waltrip's win was his first using a front steer car. For decades, rear steer cars had mounted the steering box and linkage behind the front wheels. Introduced in 1981, front steer cars had the steering geometry in front of the wheels. The difference was a front steer car wasn't as loose entering the turns. At the time, teams would buy chassis already built by outside vendors. Of the 2 major builders, Banjo Matthews built rear steer cars, and Mike Laughlin built front steer cars. In 1984, teams would buy both types and switch back and forth as they learned which geometry best suited individual tracks. Throughout the 1980s, both cars had equal success until radial tires were introduced in 1989, and the rear steer car became obsolete.
Jeff Bodine won his first pole of the season to lead the first 69 laps of the Busch 500 in Bristol, Tennessee Saturday night. The weather was nice, the stands were full, but the track was in a very foul mood. Kyle Petty kissed the wall on lap 12 for the first of an even dozen caution periods. Bill Elliott's number 9 car got bent up after hitting a patch of coolant. That sent him spinning. He still finished 6th, 9 laps down. Just before Elliott's mishap, Darrell Waltrip pulled up and passed Bodine for the lead, hoping for his 8th consecutive win at Bristol. The fans cheered, but luck ran out on lap 284 when the car's rear end broke. Sterling Marlin signaled the start of a demolition derby on lap 109, and the restart caught 5 more competitors fighting over turn 1. The fight was declared a draw. This was only the 4th caution. Later on, Richard Petty spun to a halt on the front stretch. Then on lap 269, Tim Richmond got cozy with the wall in turn 2. Tim called it a night. The wall was unscathed. 7 laps later, see the car getting T-boned? That's number 44, Terry Labonte. Keep this in mind. For 62 laps, no one could catch Dale Earnhardt. So he parked on the front stretch. He cut a tire. About a second after that, there was a new leader. It was T-boned Terry Labonte. Terry's only challenger was Neil Bonnet. Neil in the number 12 car wanted to be the 12th different race leader. But he became the 12th and final caution instead, hitting the wall in turn 3. Terry Labonte took his final lap with a comfortable lead over second place Bobby Allison, a narrow lead in the Winston Cup Championship points, and his second victory this season.
Entering the Southern 500 with 2 months left in the season, there were 5 teams separated by 120 points. Labonte held a 10-point advantage over Earnhardt. Bill Elliott was 59 back, while Darrell Waltrip and Harry Gant trailed by 119 and 120 respectively. Before qualifying, Dick Brooks claimed that teams were using illegal fuel additives to give a horsepower boost. Teams would use special fuel for qualifying or for the last stint of the race. Brooks said, quote, "You can look at the stopwatches and see who I'm talking about. Some drivers this year have picked up as much as a second and a half from practice to qualifying. I wish NASCAR would do something about it."
Pace car does move to the inside in pit row. Harold Kinder looks the field over. And the green flag is out. The 35th annual Southern 500 is on. Harry Gant has been by far the dominant force to deal with this afternoon. We have had a major accident here at Darlington.
There you saw Bobby Hillen. Hillen was the first one to go to the outside. He's on the outside, the left-hand side of your wall. And there, oh boy, what a hit that was by H.B. Bailey.
The car got up off the ground, all 4 wheels up off the ground, and very, very heavy contact. But fortunately, he climbed out of that car and obviously is uninjured, but look at the front end of that machine. Now, I don't think we can stress enough and congratulate enough two guys running in this pack who are doing excellent performances this afternoon. That guy, Lake Speed in car 1, and Joe Ruttman in 98, who is really in the thick of things. Everybody can now go the distance without additional fuel. And that being the case, it could be that Harry Gant will now set his sights on winning this race and winning it big.
And there's been trouble with Cale Yarborough. Two cars spinning as they come out of turn 4. Yarborough's gathered
and
it back in.
A third car,
one is spun.
That's Clark Dwyer in number 6, the DK Ulrich car, and it looks like that Joe Ruttman also has bumped the wall up in turn number 4. That is going to be another tough break for Joe Ruttman if he has damaged the car to the point of not being able to stay up there with the leaders where he is for most of this race. Elliott's car is also damaged.
And there's Lake Speed again, one of the front runners, having problems during this caution period.
Well, it's too bad for both Lake Speed and Joe Ruttman, two drivers looking for their first wins in NASCAR competition. Cale's car blue, putting down oil and making for a very slick racetrack up in turn number 4. Harry Gant has the Southern 500 victory within his sights into turn number 3 for the final time. There is a little bit of race traffic in front of him, but it should present no problem. Harry Gant now moves in turn number 4, comes off of the corner and sees the checkered flag from Harold Kender, and there it is. Harry Gant has won the Southern 500 for 1984, and Harry signifies the win already by sticking the hand out the window and saluting the members of his pit crew.
We ran it good from the first practice through qualifying all day, and so we ran so good and handled so good. I said, I'm going to go wide open all day, and they're going to have to keep up because I just wasn't going to fool around. I said, maybe if I run hard as I can go, I can wear them out.
A major announcement was made entering the Richmond weekend. Winner of the last 2 Daytona 500s with Cale Yarborough, Rainier Racing was leaving Chevrolet and switching to Ford for 1985. In addition to the money offered from Ford, it was said that Rainier was unhappy that General Motors didn't use their racing in its advertising while Ford did.
All right, thundering now down into turn number 1. You're on the green. Let's take it down the back straightaway.
Well, there's Earnhardt in the fence already. 2 point leaders here. Terry Labonte, the point leader for the championship, and Rusty Wallace, the point leader for Rookie of the Year. So we've got a couple of champions with another champion right behind them.
Big accident coming up. Look out. In trouble, Jimmy Hensley out of Ridgeway, Virginia, and Derek Cope out of Tacoma, Washington. Cope in the 07. A lot of damage to the car. A lot of cars. Here's Lenny Pond. He got in trouble. A lot of cars got in trouble along about this time. One right after another. I would imagine the racetrack gets a little slick about now.
Well, everything happens right along here. It's guy's car isn't handling well. He gets in trouble. Tempers have a tendency to flare, too. Now, there's Bill Elliott. He purely and simply had a flat tire going into that corner and gets hung up in the guardrail.
All right, what's happening is that Ricky Rudd is trying to move in on Darrell Waltrip and closing quickly. So here you are, down the back straightaway. Ricky Rudd pulling away from you, and as luck would have it, the yellow comes out. There's your friend, Trevor Boyes.
Trevor Boyes, I owe him a steak dinner. There's no question about that. Here we come in the pits, and this is significant because Rudd had a big lead on us, and I was able to get in the pit as quickly as he did, and you're going to see a great crew go to work here and get me out before he does. And as I told you earlier, that's the key to winning races on a short track.
Darrell Waltrip picks up the checkered flags, and Darrell Waltrip and the Junior Johnson team become victorious at Richmond, Virginia, and the Richmond 400.
The Delaware 500 saw a battle for the win between Harry Gant and Ron Bouchard. Near the end, Bouchard had tire troubles and made an unscheduled pit stop, allowing Gant to take an easy win over Terry Labonte. On lap 119, Bobby Allison blew a right front tire and crashed hard in turn 3. Allison suffered a broken shoulder and what was the latest problem in a season of bad luck. By this point, the crew believed it was because of a hex that a warlock named Billy Wood put on them in the Daytona 500. Wood was a Virginia man in his 50s who was well known in NASCAR for his ability to put hexes on teams and his attempts to get free stuff in exchange for good luck. Wood claimed he put a hex on Allison's team at the Daytona 500 when he asked crew chief Gary Nelson for a hat and was denied. In an interview, Wood asked, quote, "Am I responsible for it? Yes. I hated to see him get hurt, but do not get along with Bobby Allison or his team. I told Gary Nelson if he didn't give me that hat, I'd put a real bad hex on them. He was warned. Wood had been a race fan for decades and even had drivers like Darrell Waltrip send him money for good luck. To help a driver, he would point his left arm at the car and twirl his index finger in circles. To hex a car, he would raise his arms parallel to the ground and cross his index fingers. There were several incidents that convinced people he had powers. Richmond track announcer Ray Melton remembered watching the 1965 Daytona 500 with Wood as he cursed Junior Johnson. Melton said, quote, "I turned and said to Billy, it looks like old Junior's going to win. But Billy crossed his fingers and said, no, he's not. He's going to run into the second turn wall in the next lap." And that's exactly what happened.
Junior Johnson in the lead. Uh-oh, there he is. Junior Johnson has hit the wall. Wow, all of a sudden that car just let go toward the outside wall.
Ned Jarrett won the 1965 Southern 500 by a record 14 laps. He sent Billy $100 for his help. Bill Dennis won the 1972 Sportsman race at Daytona with Wood standing in his pits while strange mechanical problems took out his competitors. Wood had garage access until September 1974 when he spit in Richard Petty's face as he drove to victory lane at Richmond, something Billy said was an accident. NASCAR Vice President Bill Gazaway said, quote, "Billy is a con artist. He extracts a great deal of money out of all of this. To me, basically, it's extortion. But what's there to prove? Personally, I think it's bad luck to be superstitious." Despite their bad luck, Allison's crew insisted they would not send Billy Wood a hat. Coincidentally, Allison would never win another race for Dyegard. Wood continued to go to races and claimed hexes on drivers. After Rusty Wallace spun Darrell Waltrip to win the 1989 All-Star race, it was reported on Saturday that Wood said he would hex Wallace to fall out of the Coke 600 with a blown engine. On Sunday, Wallace blew an engine. Wood died in October 1991 at the age of 59.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Chief starter Harold Kinder puts the field under green. Who'll win the drag race to turn one?
Jeff Bodine has got it, Mike.
Bodine is way off the pace. Neil Bonnet has taken the lead, and Bodine's car is just coasting down the back straightaway.
Oh, what a tough break for Jeff Bodine.
And here is Ricky Rudd's Wrangler car coasting down pit road. Bud Moore and the crew come walking out, but judging by that smoke, his day's done.
Well, good move by Harry Gant. Excellent move. Oh. It was close down there, Mike. It was close.
Space between those cars.
Oh!
So Waltrip will be the leader when we go back to green flag racing.
Oh, that's unbelievable. Darrell Waltrip at the beginning of the race seemed to be out of it. He was almost a half a lap behind the leaders, and here he is leading the race.
Well, there's trouble down at turn 2. Tim Richmond slides and spins into a stalled Kyle Petty. Harold Kinder has the flag in hand as Waltrip rounds off the corner. White flag, 1 lap to go for Waltrip to put the 6th notch in his gun for the 1984 season. Waltrip wins the Goodies 500, and don't count them out of the championship just yet.
By this point, all were again reminded why the NASCAR Championship was one of the hardest titles to claim in sports. 9 months of racing, with every race having value and every week building upon the next. No do-overs, no racing bad weeks. A few bad races in September took Earnhardt, Waltrip, and Elliott out of contention. Meanwhile, Harry Gant's team stepped up and chased Labonte for the final 2 months, both seeking their first championship. At North Wilkesboro on Saturday, Gant's car owner tried Voodoo to help. In the garage area, Hal Needham produced 2 dolls and candles. On a red doll were the numbers of Terry Labonte, Darrell Waltrip, and Dale Earnhardt. On a white doll was Gant's number and fellow Skoll drivers Benny and Phil Parsons. Burning under the red doll was a red candle shaped like a man and a black candle shaped like a cat. Under the white doll was a white candle shaped like a man. Needham explained that the candles were meant to absorb the spirits into the dolls, and that the red and black candles would exert an evil influence. Also influencing the competition were chemically soaked tires. By this point in the season, Goodyear tires were a harder compound than teams liked, so they began soaking the tires in a chemical called toluene, a strong-smelling chemical found in paint thinner. It makes the rubber softer and stickier, giving more grip, but is a toxic chemical that can cause neurological problems. Goodyear engineers complained that the smell made them sick when unmounting tires from rims. Inspectors caught the teams of Neil Bonnet and Ron Bouchard with soaked tires at North Wilkesboro, but declined to penalize them because they were caught before using them. Rain postponed the North Wilkesboro event until the next open weekend 2 weeks later. Before the Charlotte 500, it was announced that Kyle Petty would drive for the Wood Brothers in 1985. Instead of a normal press conference, they held a wedding ceremony to join two of NASCAR's greatest families.
We are gathered here today to witness the exchanging of vows between Kyle Petty of North Carolina and the Wood Brothers of Virginia. By the power vested in me, I hereby pronounce these Wood Brothers, and to be driven by Kyle Petty, to be a reality in 1985.
Pole qualifying at Charlotte offered a huge prize. The pole sitter would get $17,000, a new Ford Bronco, and a new Ford Ranger for his crew chief. This was more money than the second-place finisher would get in the race at North Wilkesboro. To make sure nobody was cheating, NASCAR impounded the qualifying sets of tires and placed them on the cars under supervision before qualifying began. It was also ordered that all fuel cells be empty and fuel added with an official present. Doing this would prevent illegal fuel additives and soaked tires, although the impound building was said to still smell like tire chemicals. Instead of a single lap, qualifying was a 4-lap average speed. Benny Parsons won the pole with a remarkable consistency of only 7 1/1000ths of a second between his fastest and slowest lap. Parsons said he would take his share of the prize money to buy another truck for his engine builder and split the rest with his 5 full-time crew members. Before Busch Series qualifying, soaked tires were confiscated from the cars of Phil Parsons, L.D. Ottinger, Tommy Houston, and Dale Jarrett. Sam Ard clinched his second straight Busch Series championship. On Saturday, Hal Needham continued his voodoo when he invited a witch doctor to the garage. The man was named Tapaka, wore striped pants, a long black coat, a top hat, and had an eye patch. He planned to toss powder over competitors' cars before NASCAR officials told the witch doctor to leave. Needham's driver, Harry Gant, joined those who were critical of NASCAR's inspections and claimed officials spent too much time on the fuel and tires and overlooked other violations. He said officials were too lenient with body modifications and, quote, "I couldn't believe some of the cars they let get past the templates."
But Parsons, as he catches them, he just passes them where he finds them on the racetrack. That's just how well that car is working. Trouble in turn one as the field scoots off into the corner. Sterling Marlin's car has slammed into the concrete wall, bounces across the racetrack, and comes down to the apron of the track. And it will bring out the first caution flag of the day as Ken Reagan also looked like he got a piece of that mic.
Gant back straightaway. He'll take Waltrip with him down to the inside. There's the white nose of Waltrip's car sneaking a peek on the bottom of the racetrack. And into turn 3. Gant slides underneath, and he takes the lead from Benny Parsons. Waltrip's taking the lead. He's moved ahead of Harry Gant for the front spot.
There's trouble out of the corner as Ken Reagan's car gets away, spins to the outside, and the leader, Darrell Waltrip, gets a piece of it. He slams into the wall, and that's going to hurt Waltrip's chances as he comes down on the apron of the track. Let's hope there's not too much damage to Waltrip's car.
Gant gets loose as he tries to lap Richard Petty. There may have been a little contact there. Whatever, Gant will give up the lead to Cale Yarborough. Just that one slight bobble or contact cost Harry Gant the lead.
Again, Gant charges right back to the front. That car been strong all afternoon.
And coming into the picture is Bill Elliott right behind the Petty car. He's now the third place machine.
As the green flag waves again, the leader will be Bill Elliott. Good pit work put him back out at the head of the pack. Gant rides second. Benny Parsons is third.
What a win it'll be for Elliott and the whole family team from Dawsonville, Georgia. Checkered flag waving from the starter and off turn 4 down to the start-finish line. Bill Elliott notches his third Winston Cup Grand National win of his career and gains some valuable Winston Cup points in that chase for the championship.
See those white cars up front? Well, everybody figured that's who they'd have to beat, and boy, were they right. Darrell Waltrip, pole again, has won 5 of the last 7 races here, and his teammate Neil Bonnet starred for an 84 victory. The two-time champ leads 36 laps before finally giving way to Neil. Well, he didn't give it away. The youngest Hueytown gang member is looking pretty good about here. The next 140 circuits belong to Old Blue Eyes. Ah, yes, the points quest, the players, and their philosophies. Leader Terry Labonte.
We have to finish right now. We have to be a little cautious. We really can't take any unnecessary chances. We can't try anything new.
Second in tallies, Harry Gant.
Go out for victory, because the championship, you know, you can win it or you can lose it. And, of course, you can in a race, too, but we try to win each race day by day or race by race, and we don't worry about the points or anything, the Winston Cup points. We just run for win this race.
And then Mr. Waltrip.
We got to go out and run hard and win. Hopefully everything will hang together, and what happened last week won't happen again, and we can pull it off. I think I can do it.
Texan Labonte is off pace today. He gets 5 important bonus points for leading during a flurry of pit stops. He gets lapped shortly thereafter, and he'll only finish 9th, his worst in the last 12 races. Harry is a threat to win all day, but ironically never leads. He'll finish 2nd and move to within 59 of the points lead. Meanwhile, back to the race. Here's a rundown of the action. Waltrip, of all people, spins down the backstretch. Jeff Hooker bounced into him, no lap lost. L.D. Ottinger spins with open wheel man Kenny Schrader, then a little later bangs up with Lake Speed. Tim Richmond, planning a green flag pit stop, spun into the pit wall and thrilled some pit members as he regrouped.
Tim Richmond was fined $1,000 for unsafe driving as his spin recovery came close to hitting crewmen on pit road.
Although 7 stayed on the lead lap, it was just too much Junior Johnson and too much Darrell Waltrip for the final 100. The other 6 in order, Harry, Bobby, Neil, Rusty Wallace showing him a thing or two, Ricky Rudd, and Dale Earnhardt.
Harry Gant's second-place finish pulled him to within 59 points of Labonte, but in post-race inspection, it was discovered that his engine was slightly larger than the 358 cubic inches allowed. After waiting for it to cool down, the engine passed. In Saturday's Busch Series race, champion Sam Ard suffered serious head injuries when his car spun in oil. While he would recover enough to win a couple short-track races, Ard retired from driving in mid-1985 and became a crew chief. Bobby Allison was also involved, re-injured his shoulder from Dover.
Jeff Bodine Chevrolet inside of Bill Elliott's Ford to come down for the start in the first of 500 miles. Drops the green flag on the Hodgdon American 500. Jeff Bodine will lead the drag race into turn number 1, coming in from the south and west. Looks like a tremendous thunderstorm. We may be racing the rain here. Jeff Bodine has led every lap, but now caution is out as the oil from Jimmy Means' car dumped on the racetrack has brought out the caution flag.
And fortunately, Mike, the cars were slowed down because it is beginning to rain. As you can see, the people heading for cover.
The rain is not coming down, it's coming across, and the place is soaked. After a few laps under caution, the pace car will head for pit road. Bobby Allison and Dave Marcus did not make pit stops. The Rainout Racing Engines Pontiac of Dave Marcus rides second, and Marcus wants the front spot.
He's got it.
Battle for the lead. Bodine goes to the inside and wants the front spot back from Marcus, and green is waving. Harry Gant and Ron Bouchard bring the field down toward turn number 1. Petty is in the 4th spot behind
trouble,
Mike.
Throw in turn 1.
One car, Dick Brooks is around. Baker is in it. Bonnet, Bodine, Richmond.
On the restart, Mike, when all the cars were bumper to bumper, they just no place to go. Dick Brooks is the first car that I see sideways. Then Buddy Baker now in the 21 car is turning the car sideways. He goes up, tags Neil Bonnet. Neil Bonnet goes almost head on in the wall. And now the smoke is so bad that these other cars coming into the wreck, bumper to bumper, really can't, they have no visibility. They don't know what's going on. Trouble.
On its roof, Jerry Bowman's Ford. Lake Speed spins around coming down the backstretch, and he pounds into the wall and slides, just misses Bowman's car.
He's crawling out, Mike.
He has turned turtle in that Ford.
They are making a driver change. Bobby Allison's getting out, and Neil Bonnet is going in.
So they'll strap Bonnet into the car. Elliott has about 3 car lengths on Harry Gant.
Looks like Harry Gant really has his work cut out for him.
2.5 laps to go, and Gant is there.
He is on the back bumper.
2 laps to go. Out of turn 2, back straightaway. Here goes Gant. He makes his move to the inside.
I think he's got him.
Harry Gant dives into turn 3. He's got the lead. No, here comes Elliott right back at him, and they touch.
Get together.
Out of turn 4, they almost hit again coming off the corner. White flag. Last lap
to go.
And that would have been a photo finish. It's Gant in front. No, it's Elliott coming back at him on the inside.
It looks like Harry's got it.
He leaves half a lane for Elliott on the bottom of the racetrack. Out of turn 4. Elliott's got the room, and he's coming, and he beats Gant to the line.
I don't believe that, Mike. I don't believe that.
That's how close it was.
Despite losing the race by a foot, Gant closed on Labonte for the championship, now only 49 points behind with 2 races left. Rockingham was also the debut of Terry Schoonover, a mysterious driver that no one had ever heard of. The 32-year-old previously had a job working at a printing shop, but decided to pursue his goal of racing. So he went to Buck Baker's racing school at Rockingham and soon took a job working there as a helper. Over the summer of '84, Terry and his girlfriend Barbara Pike formed a team called A1A Racing, named after the highway that stretches through Key West, Florida, a favorite vacation spot of theirs. He landed sponsorship from Restore Engine Products, an oil additive local to Florida. He bought a Chevy Monte Carlo from Billy Matthews, the same car Dick Trickle drove to a 36th place finish in the Daytona 500 8 months earlier. Schoonover had limited racing experience and faced a big issue with his size. At 5'5" and 130 pounds, Buck Baker was unsure Terry had the stamina to race. He later said, quote, "The thing that concerned me about Terry was whether or not he was physically able to do it. He was a slight-built, slender sort of guy, and I just wondered about his strength." Schoonover qualified 39th for the 500-mile race, spun with Buddy Boys in turn 2 on lap 222. Questions of his stamina returned when he needed a relief driver after about 375 miles. J.D. McDuffie got in his car and drove only about 20 laps before Schoonover got back in and finished 21st. Overall, it was a respectable debut for the rookie, and he set his sights on the next race. 2 weeks later, Schoonover entered the race at Atlanta, a long 500-mile race that Buck Baker warned against running. Said Baker, quote, "I didn't advise him to drive Atlanta because I didn't think he could physically handle the 500 miles. At Atlanta, 22 cars failed to qualify for the race, but the new driver made the field. Baker was at the track for qualifying and spoke to Schoonover for the last time. Baker said, quote, "His last words to me were, 'I'm going to race if it's the last thing I do.'"
It has begun to rain again, and that's going to terminate activity here at the Atlanta International Raceway and force the 29th and next to last race of 1984's Winston Cup season to next Sunday afternoon.
Last Sunday, when the Atlanta Journal 500 rained out, the cars were placed under lock, key, and shotgun barrel.
It's been a quiet and ironically beautiful week here at Atlanta International Raceway. It's been quiet with good reason. We've got over $4 million worth of racing machinery to protect and a championship title on the line. So Raceway officials have beefed up security. A 24-hour armed guard is normal at the Speedway after a rainout, but Mike Helton says the title chase adds significance.
In a rainout situation, you've got to have 24-hour security in the garage area when they impound the cars to protect them from any kind of tinkering with as far as the crews and the fans and any just general public's concerned.
Sabotage is nothing new to stock car racing. Bobby Allison found sugar in his gas after clinching the 1983 Grand National title in Riverside. So indeed, this is the most important lock in stock car racing. It's the one that protected Harry Gant and Terry Labonte's cars this week at Atlanta International Raceway. The cars they'll use tomorrow in the Atlanta Journal 500.
On the start, it's Elliott and Terry Labonte side by side, tucked right in there, Bodine, and here comes Cale Yarborough. Back next is Harry Gant. That all-important point battle, and look down to the inside. Here comes Bodine. 3 wide into turn number 1. They touch in turn number 3. As they came through turn number 3, they actually pressed some sheet metal in the very first lap. And here's Harry Gant trying to hold on out there and having his problems at the moment. It's Cale Yarborough down on the inside of Texas Terry as they go into turn number 1, and with him comes Earnhardt. Labonte falling back to 3rd spot, and here comes Earnhardt on the inside. Dale Earnhardt down low, the Richard Childress Chevrolet, wheel to wheel with the Lundy Rainier Chevrolet, side by side for the lead, back straight away, and here comes the 44, 3 deep going into turn number 3. Earnhardt stays in front. Cale Yarborough in second. Fantastic racing in the Atlanta Journal 500. And 33 has gone behind the wall. They are pulling car number 33. Glenn, this could be the championship right here.
This is a very serious development.
Harry Gant, Harry, a tough break, but what's the problem?
It's kind of spindle broke. It felt like there's something wrong the whole race, but I never could figure what it was. So as a spindle broke, it finally gave away right there at the last.
After 130 laps, Harry Gant went behind the wall with a bad wheel bearing. While the crew changed the spindle, it appeared that would allow Terry Labonte to clinch the championship.
I think Terry may have blown an engine. He's slowing down dramatically going into turn number 1. He's gone right back behind pit road into the garage area. What a misfortune for car number 44. Oh, that is a tough break. Harry Gant, still very much in the championship to be decided next Sunday at Riverside, California. Here is Bodine on the inside with the advantage for the moment. Bodine first. Earnhardt second. Number 5, Bodine says sayonara, I think. That's Bodine coming in.
Evidently there's a problem under the hood. I saw a little wisp of smoke come out of it just as he rolled to a stop.
Late in the race, Dale Earnhardt held the lead, but was leaking oil. As Bill Elliott chased and was blinded by oil on his windshield, there were questions over whether Earnhardt's car would last until the finish.
And Dale Earnhardt, who's been outside on this race, the Atlanta Journal 500, is about to step into victory lane. He's out of turn number 4. Coming down, checkered flag is unfurled, and Earnhardt takes it home. Dale Earnhardt is victorious by just about a half second over Bill Elliott in second place.
But the race was marred by tragedy. After 120 laps, Terry Schoonover was still in the race, but running laps down. On lap 128, he lost control and hit the inside dirt wall. Schoonover was pronounced dead later that afternoon. As for the cause of the crash, people struggled to find an answer. Buck Baker believed that Terry was fatigued, saying, quote, "I just have this hunch that what happened is that he got a little tired and lost the car." Terry's crew chief Bobby Hudson thought he just lost control, and that Terry told him he was feeling good 20 laps before the crash. Atlanta track president Mike Hilton thought it was a mechanical problem and didn't want to label it as driver error. For whatever reason, rumors spread among other teams that Schoonover was secretly an undercover FBI agent, killed on assignment as the FBI was trying to infiltrate NASCAR. It was ironic, considering his crew chief Bobby Hudson in 1980 was at the center of a high-profile investigation and arrested when the FBI charged him and others with buying stolen cars. There were also rumors that no one claimed his body from the morgue. In reality, he was buried in Ohio on Thursday, a day he'd intended to announce his plans to run for Rookie of the Year in 1985. On that day across the country, U.S. Marshals were in the garage area in Riverside looking to seize a team's race cars. Warner Hodgdon's business empire was collapsing. The FBI had charged officials at his company with bid rigging and kickbacks related to California government contracts. While Hodgdon himself was not charged with any criminal wrongdoing, he and his company were named as defendants in a federal lawsuit in Los Angeles seeking over $30 million in damages. A judge then issued injunctions to freeze Hodgdon's assets. Fearing that the racing equipment might be confiscated when they went to California, the Junior Johnson team erased Hodgdon's name and sent their cars to Riverside in an old transporter and borrowed another from Darrell Waltrip. Once they had arrived, U.S. Marshals entered the garage looking to confiscate the cars of Waltrip and Bonnet. Through the help of lawyers, Johnson was able to explain that the cars were not owned by Hodgdon, instead that he owned stock in the team, and despite him being a stockholder, the equipment itself was not something he owned or something creditors could seize. Within the next few months, Hodgdon filed for bankruptcy, claiming $66 million in debts and only $17 million in assets. Johnson would repurchase Hodgdon's shares of the team at bankruptcy court. Hodgdon's fall had implications for the tracks that he owned. Bristol Motor Speedway was foreclosed upon. Nashville Fairgrounds was removed from the 1985 Cup schedule and never returned in the following 40 years. Just 1 year earlier, Warner Hodgdon was a figure that owned tracks, teams, and sponsored races, but by the end of 1984, he was gone for good. Atlanta was a chance for both teams to put the championship out of reach, but each struggled. Labonte entered the final race with a 42-point lead over Harry Gant, the smallest margin since he left Bristol in August. Bill Elliott made up 107 points on Labonte over the last 2 races and entered Riverside with an outside chance of winning the title.
Terry Labonte had a big day Friday at Riverside Raceway. First, he celebrated his 28th birthday. Then he hit the wall and won the pole position for the Winston Western 500. But today will be the most important racing day of his life, one that could bring him fame, fortune, and a national championship.
This is the Winston Cup, the emblem of success in Grand National stock car racing and a symbol of how far this sport has come.
The field is just coming off pit road. Everybody beginning to move. Looks like all the cars are coming out for the start.
It appears there may be a problem for Harry Gant, Ken. The report from the racetrack is that the right rear tire on Gant's car has equalized.
Here is Gant, number 33. Drawing on to pit road. Here is Gant now coming back on, and he'll have to come from the rear of the field. The race to decide the championship is underway as they dive into turn number 1. Give it to Waltrip. Waltrip jumps into the lead. Here comes Tim Richmond, number 27, Richmond, in the Raymond Beetle car, going for second place.
As Harry Gant tries to scramble, Bobby Allison dives around and takes the lead away from Darrell Waltrip. As we watch this battle for the lead, Kenley, that third place car, Harry Gant, it's really the first opportunity he's had today to run strong in front of Terry Labonte. Gant Labonte is your championship story. Harry Gant now is about 50 yards out of the lead, and Terry Labonte is just 1 position out of his magic number. He has to finish 7th here today. If Gant could go to the front, get around Waltrip and Allison, take the lead, and should something happen to Labonte to drop him back a position or 2, that man right there, Harry Gant, and the number 33 Skull Bandit, could pull out the Cinderella story here and win the Grand National Championship.
Trouble on Darrell Waltrip's car.
Car number 11 falling back. Number 22 drawing away, and he's spinning. And there's oil on the track. Earnhardt spinning. Earnhardt spinning the number 3 car as the engine goes away on car number 11, and we have an oil down situation, and there's still no sign of caution. Showing sparks as he goes up into turn number 1, Bodine, and flashing his colors, Terry Labonte, who must feel very good about himself now as the laps run out. Look at Labonte. What a champion he's going to make. The quiet Texan on the attack. Darkness on the desert out here in California as Allison stays in front and the laps trickle away. Sparks flying. You'd think they'd have some bombs to go off and some fireworks when this one's over. Here comes 5 closing. On the outside, Bodine is making his move. He's going by Allison. Here comes Allison. He's going to pit. Right front tire is down. They're already setting up for victory lane. Allison comes in as the darkness gets deeper, and Bodine is now in front.
White flag, one left to go.
Out. There it is. Down to the final lap. Terry Labonte on his way to winning the championship. Checkered flag ready to fall. The winner of the Winston Western 500 today in Riverside, California, is Jeff Bodine. Terry Labonte, he has been swarmed by well-wishers down along pit road here as darkness settles in over the Riverside International Raceway. You can see some of the lights on over in the garage area. So the story of the 1984 season and the Western 500 has been complete. Bodine wins the race, and Terry Labonte, the quiet Texan over there in the darkness, is the champion.
For Terry Labonte, it was his first championship, which came 2 days after his 28th birthday. For crew chief Dale Inman, it was his 8th title, a record that has never been equaled. It was the only championship for car owner Billy Hagan. At the awards banquet in Manhattan on December 7th, Winston made 2 major announcements for 1985. One was the creation of the Winston All-Star Race, to be held at Charlotte Motor Speedway in May. Second was the creation of the Winston Million, an offer which promised $1 million to a driver who could win 3 out of 4 of NASCAR's crown jewel races: the Daytona 500, the Winston 500 at Talladega, the World 600, and the Southern 500. The prize was monumental. The annual salary of a top-paid NFL player at the time was only slightly over $1 million. The money reinforced the idea that NASCAR was now a major figure in American sports. In all, 1984 was a season for NASCAR that was messy at times. Teams were unhappy, cheating was a game, and the sport was evolving. But the year was always exciting. On-track action was fierce, and in a lot of ways, 1984 was a turning point that shaped NASCAR for years to come.